My sister threw away my late husband's ashes. You need to move on. The urn sat on my mantelpiece between two photos, our wedding day and his last good day, when he still had enough strength to smile at the camera. 6 months since cancer took James, and that ceramic vessel held what remained of 32 years together. Every morning, I touched it gently before making coffee for one instead of two. Then my sister Margot arrived for what she called an intervention. You've been grieving for 6 months. It's unhealthy, she announced, holding the empty urn like evidence in a trial. The lid was off. The inside was clean, dust-free, hollow. My body went cold, then hot, then numb. Where are his ashes? I scattered them at Riverside Park this morning. The rose garden he liked. It's what he would have wanted, to be free, not kept prisoner on your mantle. She set the urn down with a ceramic clink that echoed through my living room. Behind her, our younger sister Beth stood wringing her hands, and Margot's husband Kyle checked his phone, clearly wishing he were anywhere else. You had no right, I whispered. Someone had to do something. You've turned this house into a shrine. It's morbid. Mom's worried, Beth's worried, everyone's worried. I stared at the empty urn, this violation so complete I couldn't process it. Margot had broken into my house, she had my spare key for emergencies, and stolen my husband's remains. Scattered them without ceremony, without me, without permission. The grief counselor said, Margot started. What grief counselor? The one I consulted about you. She said sometimes family members need to force the healing process. You talked to a counselor about me? Without me. Charlotte, you need to move on. James is gone. Keeping his ashes won't bring him back. Beth finally spoke. Margot, maybe this was too much. No, it needed to happen. Charlotte's stuck. She's not dating, not socializing, not living. This attachment to the ashes was preventing her from healing. I stood slowly, my legs unsteady. Get out. Charlotte. Get out of my house. They left in a flurry of Margot's self-righteous protests and Beth's tearful apologies. Kyle muttered something about this being a bad idea from the start. When the door closed, I walked to my bedroom closet. Behind the winter coats, tucked in a fireproof safe I'd installed myself, sat an identical urn. The real one. James's actual ashes, undisturbed. I pulled out my phone and opened the security app. The cameras I'd installed after James died, paranoid, maybe, but being alone made me feel vulnerable, had recorded everything. Margot entering at 7 a.m. with her spare key. Going straight to the mantle. Taking the urn. All while narrating to herself, this is for her own good. She'll thank me eventually. It's not healthy to keep them. But the real treasure was what she'd said to Kyle in my driveway. The lawyer said if Charlotte doesn't start acting normal soon, we might have grounds for conservatorship. Someone this unstable shouldn't be managing James's estate alone. James's estate. $2 million in life insurance, the paid-off house, his retirement accounts. That's what this was about. I made 3 copies of the video. One to my cloud, one to a USB drive, one emailed to myself. Then I called my lawyer, not the family lawyer Margot would expect, but Rebecca Chen, who specialized in elder abuse and estate theft. They tried to steal your husband's ashes to prove you're mentally incompetent. Rebecca's voice was ice. They stole what they thought were his ashes, and recorded themselves discussing conservatorship. Send me everything. This is attempted fraud, theft, and conspiracy. That evening, Margot posted on Facebook, sometimes love means making hard choices. Helped my sister take a big step in her healing journey today. #grief support, #family first, #time to heal. The comments flooded in. Hearts and prayers, and you're such a good sister and she's lucky to have you. I screenshot everything. The next morning, I called Margot. I want to apologize, I said carefully. You were right. I've been stuck. Her voice brightened immediately. Oh, Charlotte, I knew you'd understand. It was so hard for me to do that, but I knew it was what you needed. Can we meet for coffee? All 3 of us. I want to thank you properly. We met at the corner cafe. Margot had dressed up, silk blouse, fresh manicure, the outfit of someone expecting gratitude and vindication. Beth looked nervous, guilty. I placed a small box on the table. What's this? Margot asked. Open it. Inside was a USB drive and a single photo, a screenshot of her entering my house at 7 a.m. I don't understand, she said, but her face was already paling. The urn you stole was a decoy. James's real ashes are safe. But you breaking into my house, stealing what you believed were human remains and scattering them without permission. That's on video. You set me up. No, Margot. You committed a crime. I just happened to be prepared. Beth gasped. You knew she was planning this. I suspected something. She'd been asking too many questions about James's will, about my mental state, about powers of attorney. I pulled out my phone and played the video of Margot discussing conservatorship with Kyle. The blood drained from her face entirely. That's taken out of context. The context where you tried to have me declared incompetent to steal my husband's estate. It's not stealing. We're family. That money should be. Should be what? Yours. Shared. You don't have children. When you die, it goes to us anyway. There it was. The truth, naked and ugly. Actually, I said, pulling out another document. I updated my will last week. Everything goes to the Cancer Research Center where James was treated. You get nothing. Margot stood abruptly, knocking over her coffee. You can't do this. I can and I have. But here's what's going to happen now. You're going to post a new Facebook status. You're going to admit you broke into my house and stole what you thought were James's ashes without permission. You're going to apologize publicly. Absolutely not. Then I go to the police. Breaking and entering, theft, conspiracy to commit fraud. You wouldn't. We're sisters. You scattered what you thought were my husband's remains. Without me. Without ceremony. Without permission. You violated the deepest trust possible between sisters. Beth was crying now. Margot, how could you? I was trying to help. You were trying to steal, I corrected. The grief counselor you mentioned. I called every practice in town. None of them have you as a client. You made that up to justify what you'd already decided to do. Margot's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Post the confession, I said. Or I press charges. You have 24 hours. She posted it that night. The same people who'd praised her that morning turned on her instantly. The comments section became a battleground of shock and disgust. Someone screenshot it and posted it to Reddit. It went viral. Woman steals and scatters what she thinks are her brother-in-law's ashes to access his estate. Margot was suspended from her job pending investigation. Kyle filed for divorce. Apparently, this was the last straw in a series of manipulative behaviors. Beth cut contact with her entirely. But the real consequence came a month later. I held a proper memorial service for James. Not a funeral, we'd had that, but a celebration of life on what would have been his 60th birthday. I invited his colleagues, our friends, his family. And at the end, I scattered some of his ashes in the rose garden at Riverside Park. The place Margot had chosen wasn't wrong. James had loved those roses. But it should have been my choice, my moment, my goodbye. I kept the rest of his ashes. They're in the real urn now, back on the mantle where they belong. Next to them sits a new edition, a printed copy of Margot's confession, framed. A reminder that grief has no timeline, that love doesn't end with death, and that anyone who tries to police how you mourn doesn't deserve a place in your healing. Margot sent one last message before I blocked her. You destroyed my life over ashes. I didn't respond, but if I had, I would have said, no. You destroyed your life over greed. I just refused to let you destroy mine too. James would have been proud. He always said I was stronger than I knew. It just took losing him to prove it. The urn sits on my mantle still. Every morning, I touch it gently before making coffee for one. But now it doesn't feel like loneliness. It feels like defiance.